Well, good afternoon on a very sunny late June Friday, in fact the last Friday of June, and I'm out here on the Kaplan Morrell balcony where we often have lunch during the weekday, and today I'm talking about 5 things that can affect your work injury that you wouldn't think that would affect your work injury. So number 1 is your age. Your age often will affect what kind of compensation you're going to get for your permanent impairment rating. There are several body parts where they use what's called a whole person impairment rating, and that formula gives injured workers who are younger more money, more compensation for their impairment rating, because they have to live with the effects of the injury a longer time than someone who is, say, 50 years old. Often, if you are injured before you turn 21, that can have an incredible impact on the value of your workers' compensation claim. And so again, your age can affect the value of the case. And that's not to say that simply because you're older, you're automatically going to get less, because oftentimes when you're older, you may be earning more than you would have been when you were in your 20s and 30s. And also, unfortunately, if you're an older worker and you have a serious injury and have serious restrictions, you're more likely to be unemployable. So, number 1 is your age. Number 2 is, and this sounds a little strange, is what part of your body did you injure? Colorado, like some other states, not all of them, has a list of body parts for which they give what's called a flat rate, or what's called a scheduled rate impairment. And so, for example, your arms, your legs typically have a flat value, regardless of who you are, regardless of how old you are, regardless of what you are making. And so if you injure your right arm, and the quarterback for the Denver Broncos also injures his right arm, and you both have the same impairment rating, you're both going to get the same amount of money, even though the impact on your careers may be tremendously different. And so, on the other hand, if you've injured your shoulder as opposed to your elbow, that can also make a huge difference in what kind of impairment rating you're going to get and what sort of compensation you're going to get for your permanent impairment. So number 2 is the body part that you've injured can make a huge difference. And sometimes the body parts that we think are important, for example, I can't imagine trying to work without full use of my hands. And yet, injuries to just the hands in Colorado are compensated at a much lower rate, absent some specific exceptions, especially for the permanent impairment. On the other hand, if you've got enough of restrictions due to your hand injury, you may be considered permanently totally disabled. But what kind of body part you've injured makes a huge difference in a workers' compensation claim. Number 3 is your wage, how much you were making prior to the injury, and also how much you're making after the injury, because in certain cases, what you made after the injury can be used to calculate your benefits instead of what you made before. And many benefits are tied to what's called your average weekly wage. And if you look at some of our YouTube videos, you'll see I talk with one of our team members, Nick, and one of his jobs is, and he's finally learned it and got it down cold, is pouring through the wage records and making every argument possible that our clients' average weekly wages are higher than the insurance company says. And it's our experience about 60 to 75% of the time, we're able to argue a much higher average weekly wage. And that translates into more lost wage benefits, more impairment rating benefits, and in some cases, higher permanent total disability benefits. So your wage is the number 3 item that can affect the value of your workers' compensation claim. Number 4 is how long you treat for your work injury can affect the value of your work injury, but not necessarily in a good way. So typically, if you're treating for about 6 months or longer, it's not going to have a big impact on what you are entitled to as far as permanent partial disability compensation. But if you treat for a long time and you're off work and you're getting lost wage benefits, that can start to affect your rights for later benefits like permanent partial disability, because the Colorado law has in place limitations or caps on how much total lost wage and permanent impairment money you can receive. And if you've been off work treating for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, that can start to get you closer and closer to this limitation. The other thing that treating a long time can affect your claim is if you've been treating for over 3 years, you're probably not going to be able to get unemployment benefits once you're discharged. If you are off work because of a work injury, getting lost wages under workers' compensation, you can't request unemployment. But then once you're placed at MMI, you can request unemployment, and that way you can extend out the benefits, the lost wage benefits that you need in order to get back on your feet and find a new job. And that can go away after 3 years if you've been treating for 3 years. So how long you've been treating can affect the value of your case. Number 5 and last one is if you get on Social Security, or if you're injured while on Social Security, or if you get Social Security based on disability or Social Security based on your age after you've been injured, that can affect the value of your claim, because the employer and their insurance company can take a credit for what you're getting under Social Security. They don't get a dollar for dollar credit, but they essentially get a 50 cents on the dollar credit for it. And it's the same for our clients who are treating, who get on para disability. So if you get on Social Security after you're injured, or if you are already on Social Security when you get injured, that can affect the value of your claim. And in many cases, we help all sorts of injured workers, and we would love if you have any questions regarding how your particular circumstances might affect your work injury. We're here to serve you. We're here to answer your questions. We offer free consultations. So if you or someone you know has been injured on the job, please have them call us at 970-356-9898 in Colorado. We've been serving Colorado workers since 1995, and we look forward to serving any of your friends or family that may have been injured on the job, or God forbid, if you've been injured on the job, come see us. We'd be happy to speak with you. Bye.